Matt, we've got an awesome fight coming up at bantamweight between the magician, John Dodson, taking on the machine, not Burt Kreischer, Merab Dvalishvili. And it's an awesome fight because you got John Dodson that lightning fast with his hands. You know what he can do. Former two-time flyweight title challenger. Since he's moved up to bantamweight, we're talking fights against John Lineker, Manny Gamburin, Eddie Wineland, Marlon Moraes, Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, Piotr Jan, and Nathaniel Wood. That crazy, a little bit of a come from behind knockout win for him in that one. But all I want to say is the fact that John Dodson's fought some of the best of the best. And yeah, he lost to DJ, Lineker, Moraes, Rivera, and Jan. Those are all top fighters, whether at 35 or maybe your pound for pound great in Demetrius Johnson. And on the other side, with Merab Dvalishvili, since he's come into the UFC, that weird fight against Frankie Saenz that he probably won, that weird fight that he had against Ricky Simon where he probably did get submitted, but did he? But he did because he lost. And then he's been on an absolute tear of late, winning multiple fights in a row. And he's looked great. I mean, the thing about Merab Dvalishvili, and the most telling thing, is the fact that the Tyrion Ware fight, go look at Tyrion Ware's record. It's weird, the fights that he had. Brad Catoni gets a good decision win over him. Casey Kenny in The Wrestler, you know what he's going to come at from the nice southpaw stance, throws really good kicks. Merab kind of throws a wrench into that. Then he was supposed to fight Ray Borg. Out Ray Borg, in steps Gustavo Lopez from Combate. And Merab looked absolutely amazing. The takedowns were totally on point. So it's one of those fights where John Dodson's great in scrambles. Merab is great at taking people down, maybe not holding them down. If they get back up, though, and pop up, he can suplex them. He can take them right back down. So he's one of those guys that the wrestling is key. And the one thing that Merab does that I feel like everybody sees it coming, but then you look at the wins, especially the Ralphie and Stotts fight that got him into the UFC. It's that spinning back fist that'll just spam about 20 times a fight. So overall, great striking from both guys. Really good forward wrestling from Merab. Both these guys with takedown defense of 50% over their career. And I want to say and stress, John Dodson's fought great wrestlers in the past in two different weight classes. This should be an awesome fight. What do you make of this one?
I do think John Dodson has fought great wrestlers in the past. He's never fought anyone at the level of wrestling that Merab Dvalishvili has. Now, there's
not even Demetrius Johnson.
No, because Demetrius Johnson, when you actually look at what he does, he's not a traditional wrestler who's just going to shoot double legs and single legs on. You know this, Craig. I don't know why you're shaking your head. Demetrius Johnson could get you in the clinch, trip you, take you down. He's much more grappling heavy than he is a pure wrestler. Dvalishvili goes for single legs, goes for double legs, holds you down, and doesn't let you really move or do anything. And John Dodson, I like what you said, really great at scrambling. Really, his striking is kind of in a scrambling-esque manner as well. It's just pop, and then he's going to move, pop, and he's going to move. It's very kind of smoke and mirrors that way. And in his last fight against Nathaniel Wood, I completely counted John Dodson out. I'm not going to lie. I really thought that he was on not just the back nine of his career, like he was putting on the 18th, just because we hadn't seen the best version of John Dodson. We'd seen him win fights. He had won the Eddie Wineland fight. He had beat Pedro Munoz, but he had never won, or he hadn't won a fight the John Dodson way in a very long time. You have to go all the way back to the Manny Gamburin fight. And John Dodson was able to get a really nice finish win. The hand speed was there, which was really nice to see. We saw a little bit more of that in the Jan fight. The Jimmy Rivera loss was a bit of a troubling one for John Dodson, just because he never got going. And that's really the story of a lot of John Dodson's losses. When he gets into a rhythm, he's really hard to beat because, again, it's that really nice volume, but every now and then one will be a stinger and he'll really try to put you down with it, and they'll just go back to footwork and movement. But with Dvalishvili, I think he's going to be able to cut down the octagon eventually and get the takedown. It's not a matter of is he going to get the takedown, it's when is he going to get the takedown. And I think he can just win rounds from that period on. With Nathaniel Wood, he's going to go for the takedown. He is a good grappler. But what he's really looking to do is set up his transitions, go for the submission from there. And he's a guy who will entertain the brawl. Dvalishvili will not even play that game with you whatsoever. Yes, he will throw that spinning back fist way too much. If he throws it 20 times a fight, that number might be too low. But anyways, Dvalishvili, he's just such an imposing guy at this weight division. Huge for the weight class, too. And the Brad Katona fight was that's when I finally kind of got on the Dvalishvili train, because Brad Katona was really hyped up coming off The Ultimate Fighter. A guy, I know he's no longer in the UFC, but when you just look at what he brings as a skill set, very talented fighter, and what Dvalishvili was able to do to him, Katona never could get going. The second the fight started, Dvalishvili put him down, and he was just never able to get up from there. So I think this fight's going to be very similar. I think Dvalishvili realizes the danger that John Dodson possesses, especially coming off a TKO win in his last fight. And I think Matt Serra and the boys are really going to have him ready for this. I think he's just going to go in there. He can't make it entertaining, and I hate saying that because John Dodson, for the most part, is a fairly entertaining fighter. If you're Merab Dvalishvili, though, I would say don't make this entertaining whatsoever. Take him down. Don't even do ground and pound if you don't feel comfortable with it. If you think you can scramble to his feet, hold him down on the ground. Try to wear him out. Drain his gas tank as much as possible because we saw in the last fight, John Dodson can still put people away at 35 years of age. Now, 35 at flyweight is a little worrying, or bantamweight, sorry, just because 35 really any weight class other than heavyweight's pretty old. So just the younger you are, or sorry, the lighter you are, that age is going to catch up to you pretty quick. I think this is an entertaining fight because no matter who wins, I think it'll be fairly one-sided for them. Because John Dodson, I mean, not for nothing. He's a way better striker than Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili has a few tricks and whatnot, but a lot of his striking is set up just due to the threat of the takedown. Kind of Khabib-esque that way. When you look at Khabib, he's a good striker, but a lot of what he does is every time he ducks down, you have to be worried about that takedown.
And if you're trying to draw the parallel between Dvalishvili and Khabib, with Khabib, you're going to get those looping shots. He's going to close the distance, change levels, use the striking to his advantage there to work the takedowns. With Merab, we're talking a guy that swings absolutely wild. Like, he goes in there, and if it was a par 3, he's pulling driver on that. Like, that's exactly what he's going for. With John Dodson, it's the finesse, it's the hand speed, it's counter-striking on the forward motion. If he's going in, he's on a beeline, and not even a beeline. He's like a freight train moving just in a straight line, and he's just going to throw his fists at you, and you have to kind of move out of the way. But John Dodson overall, like you said, I like your assessment. A much more finished and polished striker. For sure, you're going to get that with a guy that spent as much time as he has at Jackson Wink. For Merab, too, if you want to look at the losses, he loses his pro debut. His second loss is to Ricky Bandejas, who don't take anything away from his loss to Sergio Pettis. He has some pretty big wins in Bellator as well. James Gallagher was a surprising one. The loss to Sainz, what does that mean? And the loss to Ricky Simon is only lost by finish. A technical choke at 5 minutes. At the end of the third round.
And after that loss, it's not like, oh, he's had close fights. He hasn't even had a round that he's come close to losing. Like, that's how dominant Dvalishvili really has been in this last little run. And it's just really hard to not pick the prospect with that much heat behind him.
And with John Dodson, too, I just want to stress this. If you want to go back 2 years ago, 2018, he has a win by decision over Pedro Munoz that you really have to worry about. I mean, he has some big wins, too. The Cody Garbrandt one. He's going to be fighting Davison Figueiredo for the title at 125.
Don't get me started. No, listen, John Dodson, I think at this point in his career, I don't see him making a big title run because bantamweight's such a stacked division. Like,
do you see Merab Dvalishvili going on a title run?
I do, because he's so much younger, and at this point, you need parity in every weight class. John Dawson's fought a lot of the guys at bantamweight who are kind of near the top right now, and it's not like I see him with his skill set beating a guy like Aljamain Sterling, for instance. Now, I know Dvalishvili and Sterling train together, so I'm not going to say that's going to be a fight in the future, but when you just look at their skill sets and kind of when you look at the future and who they might have to fight going forward, Dvalishvili, his style does well against pretty much anybody. What do? I take people down, I don't let them get up, and they can't do anything. It's very hard to win a fight off of your back unless you're Damian Maia or Brian Ortega. John Dodson, I think the scrambles are going to play a factor, but I do see him gassing at some point because just carrying all that weight from Dvalishvili is going to get to him.
The odds have slightly shifted in Dvalishvili's favor since they opened. He's now sitting at a minus 190, so close to a 2-1 favorite. Dodson coming back plus 155. If you look over on Tapology at 384 votes, 73% going with the customary Craig Allen in Matt Serra voice. Come on, Merab! And Merab is favored to win 87% by decision. So I'm going to agree with that. I can see a world where Merab just rinse and repeat with the takedowns, goes after those weird shots. Now, if he's going for those spinning back fists all the time, I think John Dodson can counter that fairly easily. And that's probably a path for John Dodson to win. It's to pick up on those little mistakes that Merab makes in the stand-up. Of course, he's got a great corner with Sarah Longo and the Aljamain Sterling and the Ally Quinta connections, but still, there's definitely a path for John Dodson. I wouldn't sleep on him. Let us know what your pick is for this one. We're both going with Merab Dvalishvili. You're not going to want to miss the rest of the predictions for the card, including an extended look at our main event between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, number 3. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.